My name is Dr. James T. Harris. In this highly controversial presentation you're about to witness, I will show you exactly how you can safeguard yourself and your loved ones against the lethal pandemic about to crush our nation. The threat of an Ebola outbreak is real and right here on your doorstep. It is only a matter of time before it affects you and those you care about. And the authorities are doing nothing about it. Experts predict cases could reach 10,000 a week over the next couple of months at the source of this vile disease. And your government is still refusing to impose a travel ban on flights from the infected countries. Your president would rather play another round of golf instead of making sure your hospitals and doctors are ready to deal with an incurable and untreatable virus that kills 9 out of 10 people who get it and is already on American soil. The question is not, is America prepared for a pandemic of this magnitude, but if you and your family are prepared to survive. The time has come to take matters into your own hands. You cannot sit around idly waiting for the government to take action. It may never come. In the next few minutes, you are going to discover how you can defend and prepare your family against the deadliest plagues known to mankind. Everything you need to know to survive the mass pandemonium and the aftermath of any raging disease that threatens life as you know it, using the ultimate survival plan that could mean the difference between life and death. You are up against many unseen enemies when it comes to a biological terror attack, and I'm not just talking about Ebola. How many times have you seen it? A deadly virus sweeps across the world, killing thousands before the authorities sit up and take notice. The incompetence of our government in a crisis has proven time and time again to be their downfall. And it is your biggest threat because you're always the victim of it. They wait until the situation has devastated communities, annihilated resources, and caused utter chaos before they can justify spending a cent on trying to stop it. Widespread panic and fear will wreak havoc through your town or city as people try to stockpile for doomsday. And before you know it, you're tearing Mr. Jones from down the street limb from limb for the last can of soup. It is time for you to get prepared right now before it is too late. You can start today by getting full unrestricted access to the only survival plan in existence that will be your ultimate defense when the storm hits. This plan will show you exactly how to prepare for an emergency. Essential first aid you can apply at home should there be a breakdown in medical services. Guide you on how you can bulletproof your immunity against diseases using natural methods scientifically proven to boost your defenses. And be the advantage you need when the rest of your neighborhood runs around like headless chickens looking for water and food supplies. You and your family will be tucked away safely from all the panic and chaos, prepared, protected, and in control. This patented survival guide outlines everything you need to know about pandemics, how they are spread, what you can do to prevent exposure, and what to do in case of illness during a pandemic. The plan is so easy to understand, anyone in your family can follow it and know exactly what to do in a crisis. Part of the reason the survival plan is so controversial is because it means you will be in control, well-informed and prepared, which the government won't like, because part of the potency of a pandemic is the fear that goes with it. Fear means you are more likely to be compliant when martial law is declared, and you are all forced to take dangerous experimental vaccines like lab rats, so big pharma companies can monopolize on your suffering yet again. People who are afraid are easy to control, and whenever there is a threat of pandemic, your enemy is not only biological, it's psychological too. Government warriors in mainstream media push you into a constant state of fear. I'm here today to show you that you can stay calm and in control if a crisis ever rears its ugly head. I urge you to stop everything right now and watch this presentation till the very end, because you deserve to be in the driver's seat when it comes to the safety and protection of your family, rather than falling prey to the lies and deceit pushed out by the government puppeteered media. In just a moment, I will show you the 3 most important things essential for your preparation in case of a state of emergency. First, I'd like you to think about this very important question. Have you ever wondered why, with all our advances in technology, we still have so many diseases that kill billions of people every year? The CDC receives $10 billion a year from your tax-paying dollars to conduct research into combating some of the world's deadliest diseases. Now, what I'm about to reveal to you is sickening and just one of the many disgusting truths about the people we trust our health and safety to. It will rock you to the core to know just how deep the greed and corruption goes, so viewer discretion is advised. Senator Tom Coburn, MD, published a shocking detailed report on the CDC's spending after they asked for an increase of $5 billion on top of their already massive yearly funding. He uncovered the sordid truth that the CDC has been abusing your hard-earned tax dollars for years. Instead of research into cures and disease prevention, they had squandered millions of dollars on outrageous purchases, such as $1.7 million to pay a liaison in Hollywood to make accurate medical scripts for TV dramas, $109 million on their new headquarters, with a $200,000 fitness center and employee lounge chairs costing $1,400 each. $10 million was spent on decorating the new offices with luxury furniture, and $45 million spent on conferences featuring porn stars, a drag queen beauty contest, and flirting classes. It's all coming out of your pockets. Money that should be going into pandemic prevention plans and actual disease control is being spent on hookers, fad gadgets, and designer furniture. While hundreds die every day from killer diseases and leave the world wide open for a global biological attack, Senator Coburn said in his opening to the report,
"For some reason, the federal government has a difficult time prioritizing spending and demanding measurable results from those entrusted with billions of hard-earned tax dollars to help carry out its crucial missions. I believe that you, the American taxpayer, deserve better."
Now, with all the media hype surrounding our current crisis, I wouldn't blame you for feeling skeptical right now. You may be wondering what makes me the expert here. You see, I used to work for the Center of Disease Control as an epidemiologist, and after uncovering some of their frightening lies for myself, I ended up not only losing my job, but my wife Laura as well, to a killer virus I should have been prepared for. In just a moment, I will share with you how the tragedy happened. It's devastating for me to have to open those wounds again, but if it means I save you the same heartache, I do it 1,000,000 times over, so please keep watching. At the beginning of this year, I made a survival plan available to the public after I had allowed my family to be exposed to a pandemic that claimed almost 20,000 lives worldwide. I'd like to share with you some of the comments I received from people who already have that plan and are putting it into action right now. Mike Kelly, 39, from El Paso, Texas.
This plan tells you systematically what you need to know to take care of your family if a pandemic breaks out here. It is easy to understand and fully explains in regular terms how these viruses work without being too scientific and difficult to get. Whether or not the Ebola threat becomes a pandemic, this is an urgent reminder that we need to prepare ourselves and our families for any possible disaster. I feel much more clued up about what to do in a crisis now.
Alex Warner, 46, from Richmond, Virginia.
Knowledge is the first line of defense. This plan supplies you with the essential info to defend against an unseen enemy. I don't think our healthcare system is prepared enough to deal with a pandemic crisis, so I'd prefer to be ready in case of any outbreak than leave my family exposed to the threat. This plan will be my guide if the time comes and I feel ready.
This survival plan is a culmination of years of careful research, and I knew it was vital to make this publicly available. When the reports started coming in March about a rise in Ebola cases, I knew something horrific was just on the horizon. As I mentioned before, this plan was created out of my own experience, and I'd like to share that horrifying moment with you so maybe you can understand just why it is crucial to your life and those you love that you get yourself prepared instead of waiting for any of the authorities to protect you. My name is Dr. James Harris, an ex-employee of the CDC. I'm an epidemiologist with over 15 years' experience in the field of understanding diseases and how they work. I had been a dedicated employee of the CDC since 1999, until I was unfairly dismissed in 2006 because I got too close to the sordid truths they're trying to cover up. Not only did I lose my job, but my family was put in jeopardy and threatened. And because I allowed myself to be intimidated by fear-mongering bureaucrats, my daughter is now left to grow up without a mom. I'll talk about that in just a moment. First, I must explain what led up to this horrific moment so you can get the bigger picture. It was back in 2003, the beginning of the year. I'd just had some well-deserved vacation time with my family. My wife of almost 15 years, Laura, and my cute-as-a-button 4-year-old Stacy were over the moon to be able to spend a whole Christmas with their daddy for the first time in over 2 years. You see, I work for the Center of Disease Control as one of their top epidemiologists, and I was often quarantined away from my family for long periods of time. I handled some of the world's most deadly viruses in the attempt to try and understand and destroy lethal biological threats to humankind. I was often sent off to Africa and Asia to remote villages where disease was rampant and ravishing through poverty-stricken areas like an unseen malevolent force. I have seen things no human should ever have to face. You may read reports on the news about the horrific effects some of these viruses have on your body, but let me tell you, being up close and personal, seeing those poor souls being destroyed by an assassin invisible to the naked eye, you realize we are like tiny ants under a bigger bully's magnifying glass, being cruelly tortured. It's a serious mind jolt, let me tell you. In February 2003, we were faced with a biological enemy that threatened to devastate the population, the SARS virus. Do you remember the panic caused by this pandemic? It spread like wildfire, radiating out across Asia and spreading to the rest of the world almost in the blink of an eye. Surgical masked people filled the streets and people tried to get on with their lives under the fear of attack. I was called into the CDC to help deal with the emergency situation. Fear and panic over the disease was rife, and the media fueling the fire even more. It was pandemonium. Society was on the verge of collapse. Looting and violence broke out in some cities as people became infected with panic. We closely monitored the situation in Asia as we saw the case numbers triple and multiply. By April, the numbers were shocking. Over 2,000 cases had appeared, and the number growing every day. I prepared myself to be sent out there, ready to fight yet another unseen enemy. You can imagine my surprise when instead I was shipped off to the Republic of the Congo in Africa with a small team of CDC elite. According to our findings, China was the center of the SARS outbreak. Why was I going to Africa? It didn't make sense, and I didn't get a whole lot of answers to the many questions I asked. All became clear when we arrived there, met by a group of aid workers from the Doctors Without Borders, who had been working in the region for years giving medical aid. They told us there'd been a large number of Ebola cases over the past week, and the mortality rate was almost 90%. I had only read about the horrific effects of this disease in reports and studies. I'd never seen it up close and personal. I was terrified. I knew this disease was like nothing else I'd ever dealt with. As I was shown around the makeshift holding clinic, the infected lay around in various states. Some were suffering from severe bouts of vomiting and diarrhea. The health workers taking care of them were heavily protected from head to toe. Perhaps the most disturbing thing I saw were the patients in the last stages of the disease. The image of a woman lying on her side, bleeding from her eyes, is forever burned in my mind. She looked at me with an expression that will haunt me till the end of my days, a look of hopelessness and desperation for help as the blood streamed from her eyes like tears. She was carried out in a body bag just a few hours later and thrown in a pile of rotting corpses waiting to be picked up by the cleaning crew. By the end of April, there had been 143 reported cases and 128 fatalities. We were called back to headquarters after collecting sufficient data in the hope that we might find a way to stop this deadly virus from spreading. And just like that, we were told to store the Ebola research and forget about it. It was classified as a low threat, not worth the CDC funding, apparently. But the devastating effects of Ebola stuck with me. I had this nagging feeling in my gut. Something wasn't right there. How come we weren't doing more? It had the potential to become a worldwide threat if even one person exposed to it could travel outside of the U.S. or Europe. If that virus were to ever spread, we'd be done for. No cure, no knowledge how to treat it. The world was so wrapped up in the SARS outbreak and even cases of the avian flu, H5N1, that had flared up, no one knew Ebola cases were going on. Vaccines and treatments were already in place for those pandemics, but Ebola remained untreatable and incurable. With a 90% mortality rate of Ebola versus an average of 9.5% mortality rate from SARS, I began to ask, why weren't we looking at the danger that Ebola may have in the future, if there ever was an epidemic? I wanted to understand more about it, and over the following years, I even began asking my superiors, why weren't we looking more into this deadly disease? All I got were some lame excuses about funding, that there weren't enough cases of Ebola to justify spending money on research. However, I kept on digging and began to come across a lot of internet chatter about conspiracy theories involved with the CDC and the government. Some Russian scientists had even thought that SARS had been a bioterrorist attack launched against China. I knew that I had to start thinking about my family and how I could prepare us for any future threat. My mission was to make sure we would be able to survive no matter what. I began putting together information for a book, and it landed me in hot water. Somehow they found out I was fishing around for information, and in November of 2006, they fired me without a reason. Just told me my work had been sloppy. and I had to leave immediately. I knew I'd been fired because I was getting close to something they didn't want me to find out about. I'd asked too many questions, and I knew something big was coming. Maybe Ebola, maybe something altogether new, so I dug deeper. That's when the death threats began. It started off with phone calls and vicious emails warning me to stop my research, that I would be very sorry if I kept it up. The final straw was a call one day saying that they would take my daughter from school and promised they'd make me pay for my curiosity. This time I was really scared. Even if they were empty threats, I couldn't allow my daughter to be dragged into all this. I abandoned my research and stopped writing my book. The calls stopped. They were leaving me alone. I put away my findings and left it forgotten, but I couldn't delete it. Something just wouldn't let me. A few years passed and things seemed normal again. Then in April 2009, reports were all over the news of a new flu virus causing havoc across the world. H1N1, swine flu, the new pandemic. Was this it? The cases and death toll were growing in numbers every day. And in July, it struck in my own home. Laura, my wife, started getting sick after the school where she worked had some suspected cases. She got a vaccine along with the other teachers, but it didn't seem to work. She just got worse. She shrugged it off at first as a simple cold or a reaction to the vaccine. Most of the time after a flu shot you can feel under the weather, but about a week later it turned to pneumonia. I sat by her bedside looking at her getting paler and thinner, feeling her pain every time her body was racked with coughing fits. My daughter kept asking me why couldn't I cure Mommy, and she was terrified she would get sick too. Laura finally passed away in the hospital just a few weeks after she got ill. Another statistic to the H1N1 victims. I couldn't believe it. It was so ironic. Me, an epidemiologist, impotent to do anything to save his own wife, and I had known something was coming. Why didn't we all take precautions? Take better care of our health? Laura was always a little reckless with that. She said she just wanted to enjoy life, not worry all the time about what she ate or did. I should have known better. I had begun preparing the way to protect my family from killer diseases like this, but I had been too scared to follow through. And I just trusted in the government's capability and the healthcare system. I had my wife's death on my conscience. I could have done more to protect her. I was furious with myself for not being more prepared to handle something like this. I swore that I had to carry on with my research. I had my daughter to think about now, and she was the only thing that mattered. I've spent 3 years gathering all I could to make certain that we would be completely prepared for the next crisis, and it looks like it might be here. News of the Ebola pandemic gets worse every day, and the panic is reaching a boiling point as wild stories and crackpot theories about the end of days approaching add more fuel to an already raging fire. We need to fear more than just the deadly virus threatening to wipe us out. Mass hysteria is building up and about to explode like a violent storm across the whole country, and people are itching for someone to blame. With so much information out there, how can you know what is truth and what is malicious fear-mongering? The conspiracy theories are running riot, and fingers being pointed at Obama, the CDC, and even thought of as a biological attack by the terrorist group ISIS. I understand it can be difficult to weed through the vast amount of internet chatter. When it comes down to it, the most important thing you need to know is, what can you do to avoid being a victim in all this? You're up against two colossal enemies here, a killer pandemic and the pandemonium that will go hand in hand when it all hits the fan. The survival plan I have designed will prepare you to deal with both the biological threat and the one you face from looters, complete anarchy, and threats to your family's survival. With this infinite contingency plan, you will be the only prepared family on your block, safely shielded from harm when the storm hits. First, I want to give you some crucial information that can put you ahead of the game. What I am about to tell you could be the most important thing you will hear in this presentation, and might just save you from becoming another fatality of deadly disease. Many of the gruesome infectious agents we are up against ruthlessly attack your immune system if your defenses are weak. It's almost like you're giving death an invitation to come right on in. That's why I want to give you 3 essential life-saving tips that you can do right now to get prepared. Life-saving essential number 1, fortify your immune system. Despite the shocking number of deaths currently caused by the Ebola pandemic, there have been some survivors, and doctors say it was because their immunity was high. You can bulletproof your immune system 100% naturally using essential vitamins and nutrients, and you can start doing this today for yourself and your family. Your chances of falling victim to viruses, from the flu to Ebola, could drastically be reduced by simply getting the right nutrition. In my survival plan, you will discover an entire chapter describing in great detail the easy ways you can boost your immune system. Arm yourself with the right vitamin-rich foods you'll find in your local supermarket, and you can survive pretty much anything. Life-saving essential number 2, get nature's antibiotic. Experts predict that in the very near future, your biggest health threat may not be an actual disease. It could be that you become antibiotic resistant. Antibiotics are engineered to fight various strains of an infection, and the problem is mutation. That is why there is no cure for the common cold, and are completely useless against viruses anyway. There is a natural disease defender that will fight both. No virus or superbugs will stand a chance against it. Read my section, Protect Yourself, to discover how this easy-to-find elixir will provide the armor you need against these microbial attackers. Life-saving essential number 3, beware of your water supply. In any crisis situation, your basic needs are always your key to survival. Food supplies, shelter, and of course drinking water. Bottled supplies won't last long, and once survival mode kicks in, your instinct will be to get water by any means necessary. The survival guide will show you precisely how you can make sure you and your family stay safe from contaminated water by using 2 foolproof methods of purifying all the water you will need in a crisis. These are only 3 crucial survival tips that you must follow if you want to be prepared for the next pandemic threat. Whether Ebola is our final call or not, there is always going to be another threat just waiting to strike. That is why in this definitive survival guide, you will have the complete Bible to preparing for any outbreak and know exactly what to do in a crisis. Inside, you will find the complete survival guide from arming your essential first aid kit and how to deal with a complete power blackout to fighting off angry mobs who are threatening the safety of your family by building the ultimate home security shelter. This plan has already helped hundreds of Americans get informed, prepared, and protected for what we are about to face right now and for the very near future. The plan is called Pandemic Shield, your ultimate prepper's guide to outbreaks and how to survive them. You can use this clear and precise survival guide today to get to grips with the enemy you face, easily understand your microscopic foe, prepare for the new plague, know the real truth behind the Ebola pandemic, get your home ready for lockdown. In case of crisis, learn how to prep your home for a pandemic, protect your family, what you can do to shield you and your family before the storm hits. This comprehensive action plan is your weapon against the inevitable chaos that comes with any pandemic. With this guide, you will ensure the future safety of you and your loved ones, no matter if the world around you is crumbling to dust. The most valuable thing you'll get from this plan is the peace of mind that if a crisis situation does break out, you are going to be in control and ready for anything. Your family will be safe and cared for. If the past has shown you anything, you already know that the government is never prepared for emergencies. Just look at the horrific aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. In just a few minutes, you will have the key to survival in your possession. Simple, easy-to-follow instructions at your fingertips. An easy, accessible contingency plan for you and your family. You don't need any special medical knowledge to know how to cope with an emergency situation or any military tactical information to learn how to protect your family and survive in extreme conditions. I guarantee you will find this plan child's play to follow and will keep your family protected in the worst-case scenarios. Listen to some of the reviews given by people who now have the Pandemic Shield plan up and running, ready for what's to come. Marie, 49, from Huntsville, Alabama.
It just terrifies me to think what might happen if an outbreak really does start. I got the Pandemic Shield so that me and my husband could get ourselves prepared and have a safe place my son could be with his 3 kids in case of an emergency. I know our local hospital does not have the preparation for a pandemic, and the government just aren't taking it seriously enough. We feel much more informed now and know how to defend our own family.
John, 37, from Fort Collins, Colorado.
If it all hits the fan, then I am ready for anything. Thanks to the Pandemic Shield. Our government is wandering around in the dark, completely clueless, and it's not going to get me or my family killed. My house is stocked to the gills with everything we need. And while everyone else is running around like rats, we will be safe and well prepared.
I'd like you to think about this question right now, and I warn you, it is a tough one. What is your family's safety worth to you? How much would you be willing to pay for the peace of mind that you are doing all you can to make sure your family has a future? that they will be protected in your very own impenetrable stronghold when it all goes to hell. While the outside world rages with fire and chaos, as society collapses into complete anarchy, normality becomes beating someone to death to take their car in a hopeless attempt to escape an unseen enemy. That they are going to be safe and protected, that in case of an emergency, you know you did everything in your God-given power to protect them. I would have paid $1 million if it meant I didn't have to hear my own daughter ask me why I let Mommy die. It's beyond frustrating to think I might have been able to do something for her, especially when I know there were some very easy things I could have done to at least try and be ready for what was to come. At least this time I will be prepared, and so will you, if the time comes when this all blows up and the government is watching idly by as our fellow Americans are slaughtered yet again, unnecessarily, simply because of sheer incompetence. You won't be waiting to be rescued, because you will already have all the tools you need, organized, calm, and collected in the safety of your own home. The survival and protection of your family is all that matters right now. The Pandemic Shield Survival Plan is a collection of years of dedicated and careful research and contains some information that I had to get my hands really dirty to get a hold of. My publisher advised me at the beginning of the year to charge north of $300 for the Pandemic Shield to cover writing, research, and development costs. It's a medical research paper, after all. I called her ridiculous. My aim was to make this plan affordable for all the public, no matter their financial situation, to make sure every American had the opportunity to get informed and prepared. Your government is already robbing you blind with taxes and extortionate health care costs. I refuse to be like them. I want you to get this information from me today at the lowest price possible. Because you're watching this video right now, you'll get the Pandemic Shield plan for just $39.95. Less than a tank of gas would cost to get you from your home to a hospital in case of an emergency. That's a massive saving of more than $300 for this advanced medical and preparedness research. It is your right as an American to be informed, self-reliant, and able to have the knowledge how to take care of yourself and provide protection for your family without having to rely on the authorities to do that for you. To get the complete Pandemic Shield Survival Plan right away, just click on the Add to Cart button that is directly below this presentation. You will be taken to a secure, triple encrypted checkout page that has been set up by the publishers of the plan. The page is 100% secure, and your details will not be used for anything other than purchasing this special offer of Pandemic Shield. In less than 5 minutes, you will have immediate access on your PC, smartphone, or iPad to the complete survival plan. You are protected by an ironclad 100% money-back guarantee for the next 60 days if you are not satisfied with the plan or any of its content. I'm so convinced that you are going to find the strategies in this ultimate plan so complete and life-saving that I make a guarantee no one else dares to make: a full, no-questions-asked refund. Basically, for any reason you're not satisfied with the plan, just send us an email located in the members area for a quick and prompt refund in the next 2 months. No strings attached. Now, how does that sound? Hit the Add to Cart button now and get your Pandemic Shield plan immediately. No shipping costs. You don't have to wait for weeks on end for your plan to arrive by post. You can be changing your family's future protection in a matter of minutes. It's up to you now. You are faced with the choice. You could bury your head in the sand and pretend everything will be all right. Cross your fingers Obama will pull his finger out and come swooping down to your rescue. But just remember America's unfortunate past dealing with disaster. If the response to Hurricane Katrina is anything to go by, we're up a creek without a paddle. Imagine how your town or city will be if an outbreak is declared there. How do you think people will react once the infected start rising in numbers, and the local hospital becomes overrun with sick people struggling to be seen? So many there aren't enough doctors and nurses to get around to everyone. When the alarm bells ring and people start running around like mad mice trying to hide, the supermarket shelves picked clean of every morsel of food. Pandemonium in the streets as people begin looting stores for all the food and supplies they can get their hands on. Panic and chaos as survival mode is activated, and all humanity goes out the window. You'd be surprised how savage people can be once order and normality is taken away from them. They will fight you tooth and nail for a scrap of bread. The strategies in the Pandemic Shield Ultimate Survival Plan will make sure you are not out there in the thick of it. There won't be any need. You'll be tucked up in your own little fortress with your loved ones, with enough food and supplies to see you through the worst times, and the strength to keep on surviving through the storm, ready for any emergency scenario that could rear its ugly head. You deserve to have the peace of mind that those you care deeply about will be protected from the pandemic of mass hysteria, as well as being taken care of from the illness itself. Remember, in the likelihood of an outbreak, it is not only the disease that is your enemy. Get prepared, get protected, and know what you are up against. Click on the Add to Cart button right away and defend your family today. Still here? I will take a moment to answer a few questions commonly asked about the Pandemic Shield. What makes Pandemic Shield the most complete survival guide? As I mentioned, I was an epidemiologist for the CDC with 15 years' experience. I have actually been in the middle of pandemics in third world countries and seen how disease can affect communities. Not only the biological ways, but also the social impact it has. The information in the pandemic plan is easy to follow, and you will know in depth the enemy you face and how it works. Unlike many of the so-called survival guides out there today, basing all their strategies on crazed conspiracy theories, Pandemic Shield outlines the biological threat in crystal clear English your whole family can understand, as well as a complete survival guide and prevention plan. What will I learn from Pandemic Shield? This is your infinite guide to all you need to know about pandemics. Who is supposed to be responsible to take action? How past pandemics have affected our world and what you can do in case of an outbreak. Our extensive survival guide section will show you how to prepare your home for any crisis, what to do if the medical system fails, how to treat illness at home, gathering food and water supplies, and first aid preparation, among others. You will also discover how you can begin to prepare before it is even too late, with natural immune-boosting strategies and ways to prevent illness. With Pandemic Shield, you'll literally be ready for anything, from disease to social and economical breakdown. Will prepping my home for a crisis take a lot of time and money? Time is, of course, of the essence. We are on the brink of a possible outbreak as we speak, and it may seem like a massive task to get your home fortress up and running. But don't worry, Pandemic Shield was designed with simplicity and a frugal budget in mind. Prepping your home can be done pretty quickly, and could actually be done over the course of a weekend or two, especially if all the family get involved in the preparation too. Everything you need will be relatively low cost, as you can use many things you already have around the house. The main cost could come from stockpiling food supplies, but I considered this in the plan, and you will find guidance on the right things to buy. There's a chapter on how to store food and make the most of your supplies. What if I don't think the Pandemic Shield is useful enough for me? Then you get your money back. Simple as that. You have 60 days to try it and see. I am absolutely confident that you will get all the tools and information you'll ever need to survive a pandemic emergency situation. However, if you aren't 100% satisfied, you can get a full refund by emailing me in the members area. I hope that answers some of your more urgent questions about Pandemic Shield. To get you and your family prepared for the inevitable pandemic ready to sweep the nation, click on the button below and get exclusive access to the only pandemic survival plan you need. Don't delay. Take possession of the key to survival right away and start building your defenses against the unseen enemy now.